What's happening, y'all? Just wanted to take some time and share out my Blackwing profile that I took to the Houston Regional February 22nd, 2025. And before we even get to the profile itself, I wanted to shout out all the guys at our locals, how good they are, and especially the guys that did so well in the tournament as well. The fact that Eric got third, Javon got fourth, Mason got 12th, and Blake got 20th. All the guys did pretty well, and even shout out to Jack, who's 2-1 and decided to have the based opinion and decision to say screw it. I'm gonna drop anyway. So shout out to him. But especially want to give a thanks to the guys that helped last minute to actually build this profile. Chuck, Why with the Kid, and Jared, they helped late into the night before the morning of the tournament to help build this profile and make it about as optimal as possible. So I really want to give thanks to them. So without further ado, let's get right into the profile, and we'll start off with the main deck. And of course, we got the Threesome Moons. That's pretty standard, especially with a lot of the new guys as well, with Sudri, Shamal, or for me, I like to call him Jamal. And then we even have the Vatas. This is a pretty standard ratio because normally with Simoon, you're going to go and get and have some other Blackwing more often than not. So you banish him, get the Black Whirlwind, get the initial search, and then you haven't even really used your normal summon. So in often cases, you're going to go search for the Sudri and then use him for your actual normal summon to be able to search all the guys that you really need to go into full combo. And oftentimes you're going to get these two in Jamal and Vata, which is great because with Jamal, you can just send him to the graveyard to go get the new Whirlwind to get basically a bunch of monster reborns to help for extension, and then Vata gets you into your Black Winged Dragon plays to set up the board that you're normally going for. So for, in this sense, really looking at the 12 guys to start off with, these are pretty standard ratios, and it's really kind of hard to kind of deny these numbers at this point. And then for extension's sake, you have Chris, you also have Bora, and then you have Zephyros, and these two, of course, are free special summons if you control another Blackwing. And then Zephyros is an extension, but in a different type of way, since he's more of a graveyard guy, and I'm sure a lot of you know at this point, you just bounce back normally the Black Whirlwind or the Black Feather Whirlwind to either avoid the damage that you would take at the end phase because of Simoon's effect, or you bounce the Black Feather Whirlwind, and at that point, you just get another monster reborn because it's not a hard once per turn, and we'll get to that in just a second. But these are the level 4s, and you're going to notice a theme. It's 6 4s and 2s to be able to go into your synchro plays, and you're going to see that further with the 2 Harmatons, which often you would do 1, but I feel like with how many times I've seen myself end up having Harmattan plus any of the other level 2s in the deck, it's kind of hard to go for the plays that you want to go for whenever you have your Vata out there to go into Black Winged Dragon because of his effects. So in case you end up drawing one, you can send the other one plus Zephyros with the Vata to make the Black Winged Dragon. And then you also have the Sharngo, which is another guy that's out there, especially for graveyard interruptions, and is essentially another special summon. And then you also have Chinook, which is essentially the effect veiler in a sense. Whenever you control the Dark Synchro, it becomes a quick effect, so you can do it on your opponent's turn to negate a monster's effect, make it lose 700 attack, and then you also end up having to send a Blackwing Synchro to the graveyard, so it ends up making it pretty easy. And then you also have the 2 Black Whirlwinds. It always felt like 3 made sense to me, but as time has gone along, it makes so much more sense to do 2, because if you end up having too many, you kind of cut down on the percentage of you being able to have another Blackwing monster already in hand, and it kind of cuts you off into being able to do extra plays. So you always want to just go with 2, and then you have the 1 Black Feather Whirlwind, which you can just play straight on the field once you use Jamal's Fett. And then you also have, for being able to have extra plays and kind of getting into more engine, you have the Prosperity plus the Small World and the initial Small World target. So oftentimes, if you don't have the greatest Blackwing, like say you have Bora or Chris, you use them with the Small World to bridge with Assault Synchron, and then going into whichever one you need. And then you could also do that with the Bystials, which we will get to in a second. But we have 3 Ash Blossom, we have 3 Nibiru, 3 Imperm, and then 3 Dominus Impulse as our interruptions, plus the 2 Bystials, Magnemite and Jerusalem, which, like I said, can also be used for Small World targets. And then you also have the Triple Tactics talent to be able to look at your opponent's hand if they do interrupt you with something, like let's say they use a Droll or use an Ash Blossom or go for an Effect Veiler or something. You can look at their hand and basically see what they have and know what you need to take out from there based off of what your hand already is. That way you give yourself your best chance of actually winning the game. Going towards the extra deck, you have the 1 full armor master plus the 2 Blackwing Assault Dragons, which is so nice because each one of them are going to burn your opponent at resolution of a monster effect that they use for 700 damage. So with 2 of them, it's 14. So it puts even more pressure on them to have to try and fast track their plays to try and out this. And it's kind of tough sometimes depending on their hand, plus the interruptions that you already have built into the board and in your hand. Plus you have the play starter itself with Black-Winged Dragons, so you have that, plus the Boar Storm. It's so often with him, you dump, say, another monster to be able to match the levels to go into him. Then you use these 2 in the graveyard to banish to summon the second one, plus whatever extra plays you already have on the board and in hand to go into further synchro plays. Plus you have the No Thung for burn damage. So that's a thing. With this deck, you don't. If you're ever going to go into time, you should have all the answers already and not have to run something like Cowboy or Scattershot with tier limits, because he also burns your opponent whenever he gets summoned. 800 plus your opponent loses 800 on one of their monsters, and you get an additional armor, which is so crucial. Then after that, you have more of the free synchros, in a sense of having a couple level 10s in Chaos Angel and Dispatter for extra interruption and potential game-winning upside. With the Draco Berserker, that's another option right there when you need another level 8, because you have so many level 10s, you have a few level 6s, but to have the generic level 8 out there, plus it banishes whenever they use a monster effect, that can be really crucial depending on the deck that you end up playing, because some of them, if you get rid of that monster and they can't get it back on the board, ooh, that ends up making it pretty rough for your opponent. Plus you also have the spiciness of Muddy Mud Dragon with the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to create an extra negate on board to make it even tougher for your opponent to try and come back if they hand trap you 1 or 2 times, but you already have the full extension to go into the board that you really wanted to. You also have a couple of guys, and that is it for the synchro, but getting to the final 4 spots, we have a couple of link monsters and wise tricks to help you just in case your hand's kind of awkward and you need to summon something else from the deck to go into your synchro plays before you get dark locked, or once you get dark locked and you're trying to see, okay, am I good on being synchro locked? These 2 are really great, especially SP. Having double Black-Winged Assault Dragons plus an SP, it can make it pretty tough because they're trying to stop those so they don't get taxed too often, but whenever you go into those are pretty nice as well. And then your 2 Ultimate Slayer targets, of course, the Xyz for Ryzeal, and then Link with Farigid into any of the Malice decks that you're going to play against. And then, last but not least, we have the side deck, going with 3 Droll to try and slow down your opponent because you're looking for high impact hand traps, plus 2 Thrust with the targets that you're going with the Ultimate Slayer, the Harpy's Feather Duster, the Dimensional Barrier to lock out certain decks out of their main mechanic, and then the Sanctum. And of course, with the Sanctum comes 3 Lancia, because we don't like Malice. And we also are looking at 3 Judgment to help further protect whenever you're going into either game 2 or 3 of going first. If they're going to go for a board breaker, say like Lightning Storm or Raigeki or anything else to try and negate your monsters from taxing them or anything like that, Judgment's that further protection to be able to help you keep you alive and take away whatever options that they had to try and answer your board. So really, that was the deck profile. And at the end of the day, you may be wondering, okay, James, what did you end up doing? You must have placed pretty well, right? Well, actually, I went X3. I went 0-3 and dropped after the 3rd round. So really, no, this was rough. And at the end of the day, I loved Blackwings, but man, oh man, this further proved to me that as of right now, I just have to retire the deck until further notice. But appreciate all of you listening in. Come back next time when we hopefully do better in a regional and get our invite to be able to go to the next YCS. But until then, appreciate you listening out there, and I'll catch you next time.